So while Peter's getting set up, I want the
I'm set.
community. Hey, Peter, one sec, buddy. Welcome.
Hey,
I
how
want
are
everybody to
you?
understand. I'm awesome. I want everybody to understand a little context here before Peter has some really cool thoughts for you. Peter, there's a lot of new people, not just the community here, so I just want to kind of piece this together. So we're always talking, you guys, throughout this whole week, 5 days for the coaches and a few days for you. We're talking about surrounding yourself with the right people. I opened Wednesday morning saying how important it was for me with my climb out of the crash, right? We're always talking about this. Peter and I met through Rock Thomas originally, right?
Yeah, just to give you some context to the story. Yeah, through Rock Thomas, I was sitting down, I was texting Chris back and forth, and he hits me with this text message, says, "Who's this Peter Taunton guy? He's in like health and wellness. Why the heck is he going to be on our podcast?" And I was like, let's do some research and make sure that, and I bet you he's got some great stories. We ended up doing some research, and we ended up having him on the podcast, thank God.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. I forgot about that. That's a true story. So after that, Peter and I and Zach frankly, we hit it off. We started digging into a little bit. You guys that don't know Peter, built the largest fitness brand, one of the largest in the world, with 6,000 franchises, kind of understands how to build a business. He's also an instructor, educator through Forbes. He also wrote a best-selling book through Forbes. A lot of you guys got that in the mail already from us as a gift. And so it made a ton of sense for us to team up with Peter on a few different fronts. One, he now is a proud owner of the Wicked Smart company, which is Smart Real Estate Coach. And he also partnered with Zach and I on Wicked Smart Finance, and he was the brainchild behind that. As well as Peter, I explained to them today how we're doing the continuity after 10 deals, and they all love that in the community. So with that as a backdrop, we asked Peter to talk about commitment, going through what he went through. That's an understatement of what he had to do. So I know you're going to have some really cool thoughts, my friend. So welcome to the last day of QLS.
Yeah, no, hey, thanks, Chris. I appreciate you guys having me. So I think, normally when I start, I just want to give you a little background on myself, because I think it helps ground and set the stage. I grew up in a small Midwestern town in Minnesota. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. As a child, I worked for my father's grocery store, and I had a typical Midwestern upbringing. I went to college at St. Cloud State and quit my junior year. And I quit when I was given an opportunity to earn equity if I was able to turn around a failing health club in my hometown. And over the next 8 years, I was able to turn that business around and eventually own it. And I didn't realize at the time that would be my springboard and the catalyst some 30 years later to build what Chris mentioned, one of the largest wellness brands in the world today with 6,000 locations, 28 countries. I stepped down as a CEO about 2.5 years ago. Today, I spend most of my time mentoring entrepreneurs and consulting. I'm a Forbes Masterclass instructor. I'm a best-selling author with my book Impossible Hill. But 2 things that I want you guys to take away from my brief discussion with you today, and that's really the number one: to understand that opportunity doesn't knock; it whispers. And kind of a morbid thought, but one that's very true. None of us are getting out of here alive, and life isn't a dress rehearsal. And if you don't love your life, if you don't love where you live, your job, your relationship, your appearance, it's only you that can make that change, which is, to me, a perfect segue to what we're discussing today. And I get asked the question all the time, Peter, in a few words, what do you attribute your success to? And it's commitment, it's discipline, accountability, and perspective. And think about this. We all think and we talk about setting goals. That's something that we all do. Most of us do it every day. And that's great. Every one of us should be setting goals for ourselves and trying to level up on every aspect of our lives, that whether it be personal, spiritual, physical, but seldom do we talk about achieving the goals. And that's what I want to focus on today. I want to change the way you think about your goals. I want you to focus less on setting goals and focus more on what you need to do to achieve them. What's the mindset? What are the action steps that you need to take in order to be successful? And those 4 words with the proper mindset are the keys to unlocking the handcuffs that are holding most people back from achieving and accomplishing their full potential, making the impossible possible for yourself. So let's start with the first word, commitment. And, commitment, you need to visualize what it is that you want to change or achieve for yourself, and then commit to that vision. All right. I mean, commitments, we're all committing every day to different things. The second part of it is accountability. And how high are you willing to set the bar for yourself? I often say that anyone can be an all-star if you set the bar at your ankles. It's true, right? So how bad do you want it? How much of the burn and sacrifice are you willing to take? Because every one of us has a little different threshold on how much pain, how much road rash we're willing to endure in this journey on our way to success and financial freedom, which I love the thought. I mean, it's success. It's not a straight path. Life, it twists and turns. And in fact, I say this all the time, life, the only thing predictable about life is its unpredictability. Talk about discipline. Discipline, without discipline, you never hold yourself accountable. That's why I put discipline and accountability right next to each other. As soon as things start to get difficult, and they will, most people revert back to the same bad habits that got them to where they are in the first place. Okay, so discipline and accountability. The last one is perspective. Perspective. The journey can be a long road. Success, it doesn't happen overnight. And as we said before, it's not a straight path. In my book, I talk about the hill taker method, which is the mindset and the process that you must embrace in order to make change and to break the bad habits and tendencies that we all have. So if you're going to make a change, it starts with solidify your decision. The first step in making change is realizing that you want to make a change. Okay, realizing, getting to a place where you're just fed up and you say, look, I want to change. And you know what? There's countless times that I'm talking to people, consulting and mentoring, and they say, Peter, man, I just don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't, I've never thought about it. I don't even know what the first step is. And I tell them, you've already made it. The first step of making change is acknowledging and embracing the fact that you want to change. Okay. So first thing you do, you decide that you want to make a change. Visualize it. Visualize what is your perfect life and dream big, because there's 3 steps here that I'm going to talk about. So the first is you need to visualize it. And I always say, when you're visualizing it, dream big. No idea is a bad idea. And this is not the time to pull back on your dreams, because we're going to talk about that in a minute. And think about every aspect of your life. If you're going to live the perfect life, if you're going to live your true bliss, what is it you're looking for? Is it job? Is it your surroundings? Is it your physical appearance? Is it your wardrobe? Is it relationships? Look, it doesn't matter, but take a full inventory of where you want to be. Then the second part of it is think about, what are your strengths? Where do you shine? What lights your fire? What are you going to be passionate about? All right. And this is where you need to be a little bit careful, because when you're throwing everything up against the wall to see what you like and what you don't like, this is where doubt tends to creep in. And don't let doubt creep in. Doubt is a dream killer. Okay. This is not the time to put limitations on yourself. Okay. We're going to talk about this later, because, the doubt side of you is going to push you back to that place of your common tendencies. It's going to push you back to that safe place. It's going to push you back to that place. It's right in the middle where you're playing it safe. Okay. So think about it. First, you visualize it. The second part is clarify your vision, which is make your plan. This is when you chart your course. This is where you refine what it is that you want to do. You take your ideas and you refine them. Identify the material items. What are the big movers? Create milestones. When you're thinking about, okay, I've narrowed this down. This is what I'm going to do. You create milestones. Okay. You fine tune it as you're marching towards your North Star. This is where you can be practical. Okay. Hey, look, if you're 40 years old and you want to play in the NFL, it's probably time to let that dream go. All right. So there is a practical side of what we're doing. Okay. Look at the change that you want to make and then address it from multiple angles. Then you got to think about how much time will it take to make this change? Set realistic timelines. And how much effort am I going to need to put forth? Is there a cost associated with it? This is why perspective is so important. When I think about my success, it took me 20 years to accomplish my dream. 20 years. Thank God I didn't know. Thank God I had discipline and I held myself accountable. Thank God I had that. But for me, when I set my goal, I set milestones along the way. And had I not set those milestones, I would have lost interest. And I'll be honest with you. If somebody had told me, hey, Peter, it's going to take you 20 years. If somebody had told me that day one, I promise you, I would have switched gears. I would have completely switched gears, but I was committed to what I wanted to do. I was committed and I set milestones. And I tell you what, as I hit those milestones, I saw movement. I saw progress, and that was motivating to me. That's what kept me in the trenches. Okay. The third step of making change, I think it's the hardest step of all of them. And that's taking action. Okay. Yes, at some point in time, you have to make the jump. Okay. Are you going to be nervous? Yes. Why? Because you're doing something that you've never done. Okay. And I tell people all the time, hey, Peter, I just had this gut feeling. Look, stop with the gut feeling. It's not divine intervention. You're nervous. You're apprehensive. Why? Because you're doing something you've never done. You're moving down uncharted waters for yourself. So don't let your conscience push you back to this place of comfort, okay, which is playing it safe, which is put you right in the middle, which what I talked about earlier. It's going to push you right back to where you might be right now. So that's why I appreciate from Chris and Zach. I appreciate those guys giving me the opportunity to come on here and say hello to you guys. And I want to be the first to congratulate you guys on taking the hills for yourselves. Your determination and your commitment to make what seems to be impossible possible for yourselves. You're taking the first step right now. Taking Chris and Zach's class. I mean, that is the first step. And okay, many of you might be pivoting in your lives right now. You're pivoting in your careers, or you're looking for your second side hustle. But I can tell you, I know personally of dozens of people. I know they've had hundreds of people, but I've had a chance to meet dozens of people that have embraced their class, their program, and applied those principles. And they've taken that now to a new level for themselves. They've taken that to a place where they've been able to pivot off of the position they were in on a job that was less desirable. They no longer regret or cringe on the thought of going to work on Mondays. They set their own schedule. They found financial freedom. They found financial independence. And I can tell you, there's nothing more rewarding when that happens for you. But it takes hard work. It takes commitment. But you've already made the first step. Embrace what these guys are saying. Now, of course, I'm biased, but I'm taking it from a third view. I'm looking at it from a different lens. I don't do any of the teaching that these guys do. I consult for dozens of different companies. And there's a reason that I took a position in this company, because number one, I love the leadership, but number two, I love the impact that they make. I love the passion that these guys have for what they're doing. And I love how committed they are. Most importantly, I love that the audience, all of you, that when you hear and you understand their principles, that you are committed to applying those principles to your daily actions as you head down that path to financial freedom. And I can tell you from where I'm at, there's nothing more rewarding in your life than having the ability to make choices. And the more you have, the more money you have, the more choices you have, the more freedom you have. So life is great. You guys, I appreciate you having me on the show today. You know what? It's great news. I know you guys have had a successful program, and to all of you that are in the audience, thanks for listening, and keep climbing. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Pete. If you can hang on for a couple minutes, I know your time is super valuable.
Of course.
I want to, when you say to them, think big, and that's their only limitation, I want to put that also in context. And I know I'm not out of bounds asking you this because you've said this publicly. You started with one gym that literally was in the toilet, and you brought that to twice selling pieces of your company. Do you mind just sharing those numbers? I want their minds to go to the next level and hopefully never come back.
Yeah,
Just the numerical value of those sales.
No, for sure. You know what? When I had that first opportunity to turn around that failing gym, and the gym wasn't failing a little bit, it was losing $200,000 a year. It took me 8 years to turn that first gym around. And then over the next 20 years, I went on to build 6 or 7 clubs and then sold them. I had about $3 million in the bank. I was 40 years old. 40 years old, my life savings, $3 million, and I wanted to try something else. I didn't know what it was going to be. And I was drawn right back to the fitness space. I started Snap Fitness when I was 40 years old. And in 5 years, I went from an idea to applying commitment, accountability, discipline. And in 5 years, that company grew to $100 million company. I took my first bite of the apple and sold 40% of it for $47 million. And then 5 years later, I grew it from a $100 million company to a $200 million company, where I sold another portion for about the same amount. Today, I still own about 25% of the company, but I'm no longer running it on a day-to-day basis. I want you guys to know that. The only reason I share that with you is not to gloat about the success that I've had in my life. I'm sharing it with you because I'm firsthand experience. I had a front row seat to living the American dream. And I am living proof that if you apply yourself and work hard and with the right product at the right place at the right time, that you'll be amazed at how fast things can move. And for me, it moved at the speed of light. But with that said, I always say money doesn't make the man. I'm the same guy I was. I grew up poor, and I'm the same guy today as I was before I made my big success. But the journey was a lot of fun. So don't forget to smell the flowers along the way.
Yeah, and we talked a lot this week about them having access to sort of our dream team, Peter, and now they have access to you as part owner of the company, which is really, really cool for the Wicked Smart community. Zach, since you are on the couch, do you have any last thoughts or questions? Because we got just a couple minutes, and he could.
No, I guess I would just comment, and then we'll send Peter off to smell some more flowers. It's just another prime example of everybody has their own path. That's almost been a theme of this entire week. When we start from the coaches to the associate development day to a 3-day event, everybody has their own path. Everybody comes from different walks of life. But if you're following the same principles, which Peter talked about, and we yell about every single day, that success is inevitable. You just have to keep plugging away. And one thing that Peter said to me that I always hold to heart nowadays, and that is patience. And I don't know how in depth you got. We didn't go super in depth on that, but being patient, knowing that this is going to always take longer than you thought it was, and that success is going to take a little bit longer than you want it to. But if you continue to keep plugging away each day, it's inevitable. So I just want to end with that.
Yep.
And
it's so true, Zach. Yeah, it's so true. You know what? Perspective is everything. And perspective is what keeps you in the game when things get tough and you realize, and that's why I say, the mindset to winning, if every time some uncertainty hits you, if you feel like you're blindsided, then you're going to lose. You're never going to win the big game. All right. You might have some small wins along the way, but you're never going to win the big game. You've got to have the mindset, understanding that life is uncertain and how you react to adversity. I mean, I'll tell you what, all of your growth is going to come through times of adversity. Anyone can run a company with the wind at your back. There's going to be times where you have to be creative. And that's why being committed to your vision, committed to your dream, committed to your discipline, holding yourself accountable to weather the storm, because it's not a straight line. And I'm living proof of it. I chased my dream for 20 years before I finally got my bat on the ball. And, when I did, great things happen. But it's just, guys, just, sometimes I always say, I'm a bit of a cowboy at heart, but I always say, you get up every day, you spit in your palms, you chin up, chest out, and you just go chase the day. And that's what I do. Even today, I get up every day. I choose to work because it doesn't feel like work. I choose to do what I do because I love it. I love talking to people, hopefully inspiring them and let them know that if I did it, you can do it too.
Peter, thank you so much. Go enjoy your awesome lake house that I see behind you, and I'm sure we'll be chatting next week or very shortly. Thanks again, buddy. Appreciate it.
Right on. My pleasure. You guys, good luck to everyone out there. And you're hooking your wagon to a couple of winners here. So glad to be part of the team. Everybody, take care. God bless.
Buddy, appreciate you.
Love it.